Well, hello there. It is your boy H boy, the boy with the weird 8-bit sunglasses that I found at, well, if you remember, I got them from Chuck E. Cheese. But as you probably know, I didn't have them in the last video. However, now I have them in this video. So if you're into that, well, here it is. Anyway, so for today's video, I'm going to be talking to you about tropes in teen sitcoms. By teen sitcoms, I mean sitcoms for channels like Nickelodeon, Disney Channel, Family Channel, ABC, basically any of those channels. Oh, and WB. Anyway, now that that's been talked about, I'm going to talk about a bunch of tropes, character, common plots, etc., etc. Okay, here we go. Let's start with character. Most teen sitcoms always have a certain set of characters. Let's start with one of the more common ones, the comically ditzy character, better known as the Ditz. Usually it will be a friend of the main character. For example, most time it's the character's best friend. However, if the show that's usually if the show revolves around one person. However, if the show revolves around a family, like one of those family sitcoms, the comically dumb character will usually either be the father of the family or the older brother. However, most of the time, especially in like younger teen sitcoms, if there's a smart character, it's usually the youngest sibling, usually a younger sister of the middle child. For example, good examples of comically dumb characters are Jasper from Henry Danger, Luke from the Stanley Dynamic, Austin from Austin and Ally, and Luke from Jesse. For example, Jasper is an example of a ditzy character that's a friend of the main character, and Luke from Jesse is an example of an older brother being dumb. Anyway, now that that's been dealt with, another popular character is the comically unlucky character, also known as the butt monkey if you're going by TV tropes. The comically unlucky character is one character where bad things happen to them for usually no apparent reason. A good example of this would be Candace from the show Some Assembly Required, which was a Canadian show I used to watch, which you can find on Netflix. If you want, you can go look it up when you're done watching this. Another good example is Squidward from Spongebob. It's not really much of a sitcom, it's more of a cartoon, but same concept. And another good example would be Meg from Family Guy and Freddie from iCarly. Usually this character would be not the best friend, but if the main character has a second friend, then they would be the comically unlucky character. Anyway, now that that's been done, another popular character is the beauty. Usually in sitcoms, this is very common in Disney Channel sitcoms. However, it's used to be slightly common in Nick sitcoms, but as the series suggested, it started going downhill. For example, in iCarly, I would say Miranda was the nicest looking. In Jessie, I would say either Jessie or the blonde girl was the nicest looking. In what other ones do they have nice looking ones? In Victorious, which was another Nickelodeon show, I would say Jade was the nicest looking. Sorry, Victoria. And in Sam and Cat, no, neither of them were nice looking in Sam and Cat, because Ariana Grande is not that good looking, to be honest with you. Anyway, that's that. Anyway, now that I think that's all of them, and there might be... Oh, and here's another one. Usually in sitcoms, especially for like younger teens, is most adult characters are either ditzy or just bad people, such as the teachers in iCarly or the parents in some other in most old Nick sitcoms. Then I think that's it. I think that is it. Anyway, now that we've talked about characters, let's talk about plots. Okay, let's start with one of my favorite plots, the don't miss the event plot. This plot is pretty common. Usually what happens is a character has to get somewhere, usually a birthday party, it could be a concert, could be a friend's concert, it could be a movie. It's basically just anything. Could be a game, just, you get the idea, just whatever the hell. Anyway, however, so they're hyping up for the event, but then all of a sudden something happens. It could be a traffic jam, it could be a natural disaster, it could be the road closures, it could be they have detention, it could be anything of that sort. Usually, when this happens, they try to get out, but most of the time there's no avail. And then during this time, there's usually a subplot that involves the people involved in the event, usually a friend of the main character, will end up like getting worried thinking they don't come. However, in some cases, there might be one where the character promised to, so now it causes some kind of tyranny against the two groups. And this plot can have three outcomes. Either one, they make it at the last minute. Two, they don't make it, and in the situation where it's like a birthday or an event or something, they try to the person's friends or someone else they try to recreate the event for them, and ends up being either just as good or even better. Or the third one, which is common in movies but not as much in TV shows, except if they want to create a story arc, is what will happen is that they'll miss it completely, and then everyone will be mad at them. And if the main character is a singer, such as in most Disney Channel sitcoms, it's more likely to be a concert or something, or some kind of school show instead of a party or something. And then the song that they sing, if they do make it, will play out the episode. Okay, that's that plot. And now, another plot that's also used frequently, which is similar to the Don't Miss the Event plot, is the Lost Voice plot, where usually a character will lose their voice and can't talk, and all of a sudden they can't talk before like a concert or something. So what do? They try to get someone else to do it for them, like fake it, but all of a sudden something will happen and that will give away the secret, which is another common one. Okay, that's those two plots. Now the next plot is the Misunderstanding Plot. This one is very common in more like teen dramas than sitcoms. However, it does make its fair case in sitcoms. This is one where a character will misunderstand something, and then for the whole episode, the character tries to either change, the main character, the person that misunderstood, tries to either change the misunderstanding or like make themselves better than the misunderstanding. However, eventually there might be something where they can't change the misunderstanding, or they can't get better, or they can't do it, and then they have to confess, and then that's when the misunderstanding gets revealed to them. For example, this happens a lot in the Nickelodeon sitcom called The Loud House, better known as the King of Rule 34 for Nickelodeon. Anyway, what happened, for example, there was one episode where Lucy thought she cursed the family, but each of the curses had a logical reason why it was caused. For example, she thought she made Lisa sticky. She spilled something. She thought she made Lana itchy. Turns out she was just rolling in poison ivy. She thought she made Lincoln lose his voice. Turns out it's because he was screaming at his grandfather. It makes sense in context to avoid spoilers. I'm not telling you why he was screaming at his grandfather. Anyway, that's that plot. And then another episode of The Loud House where it happened was one where Lincoln thought that Bobby Boo Boo Bear, better known as the person that Donald Trump would hate if he was a real person, eventually thought he was cheating on her. But it turns out that each thing, for example, he looked like he was talking to an older woman saying drop her pants. Turns out they were just fitting for an outfit for the date. So happy ending. Okay, that's the Misunderstanding Plot. This can also tie into the Don't Miss the Event plot if the misunderstanding is for a birthday party. Okay, that's that plot. Now another plot that's common in shows, in sitcom shows, would be the bad teacher plot. This one is not overly common, where a character will be going to school and they have a bad teacher, and then the teacher is, however, it turns out the teacher's being bad for a reason, like they just had a breakup or something. So what happens is they'll try to get them back together. However, this could end another way, where what happens is it turns out that there was a bad relationship, which will just make it worse, so they'll have to find some other way. Anyway, those are all the ones I can think now. If I can think of more, I'll let you know. Thanks for watching, and remember, I need those view hours. Give me some more.